Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's GITEX Technology Week.virtual webinar brought to you by Nutanix. On behalf of Dubai World Trade Center and GITEX Technology Week, I'd like to wish a very big thank you to all of you for taking time out of your hectic schedules to join us for today's session. Dubai World Trade Center is very excited to welcome all of you to GITEX Technology Week, which will be held from the 6th to the 10th of December. In the meantime, we're very lucky to have with us today a selection of technology experts who will discuss one of the most pervasive and critical topics in modern day technology, the move to and challenges associated with hybrid cloud. Today's topic, the topic of today's webinar specifically will be the ways that organizations can gain freedom from their choice of cloud environment and the ways they can build an enterprise cloud to their liking. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome the country manager for Nutanix for Saudi Arabia, Mohammed Abdul Hoof, who will give some opening remarks. Welcome, Mohammed.
Hi, James. Hi, everyone.
I'll hand over to you, Mohammed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for taking out of your valuable time today to attend with us this webinar. And without any further ado, I'm very excited to introduce Fred Sharp, who's a world-renowned technology illusionist. He's going to spend 10 minutes showing us illusions with his incredible acts. Although his acts may be an illusion, at Nutanix, freedom of choice is reality. On to you, Fred.
Here we go, Nutanix Ultimate Freedom Unlocked webinar, 30th of September 2020. Am I in the right place, everybody? I think I am. Fantastic. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here with you for something fun and interactive. Welcome to Freedom to Build. My name is Fred Sharp. I am an illusionist and a mentalist. Today, I'm going to entertain you with some virtual magic. And of course, this virtual magic presentation is sponsored by Nutanix. Great. Now, I'd like to get a few things out of the way before we start. The same way as companies are going through digital transformation, well, my skill, my art, magic has gone through digital transformation. As you noticed during my introduction with the iPad and the magic taking place digitally. Okay, few things that you need to know. No camera tricks will be used, and everything is live, nothing is recorded, and we're not using any setup with any of the volunteers, okay? So it's genuine what you're about to see. Great, I just wanted to get this out of the way before we start. Now, here's something to consider. At Nutanix, we are the magicians of hyper-convergence infrastructure. So much that some of our clients cannot believe their eyes when they see the capabilities of our solutions. Let me demonstrate this to you. One of our best kept secrets is our flexible approach to cloud. Right here, I have a solid metal fork. As you can see, it really is solid. Yeah? This solid metal fork represents the rigid approach to cloud. To make sure I cannot switch it for another one, which could have been prepared, I'm going to write something on it that will stay on the fork all along throughout the demonstration. How about the letter N? N for Nutanix. Okay, so I'm going to write an N here on the back, all right, of the fork. Everybody watch this fork. You can see the letter N here on the back. You can see the mark, okay? All right, now at Nutanix, we offer multiple flexible solutions depending on the type of data. As you can see, the metal is starting to become flexible. You can see this, it's starting to be just one prong. When you hear the word freedom, the first thing that should come to your mind is, of course, Nutanix. And it's bending more and more. Remember, you can choose between the flexible approach or the rigid approach. Now, let me straighten this out here again. It takes quite a bit of effort. I'm going to straighten the fork here, and this bit here also, we can straighten it. So we are back to the rigid approach. This is obviously a metaphor, right? To symbolize ultimate freedom to build, I'm now going to twist the fork. How about this? I just turn it around in my hand like so. And as you can see, the metal is now completely twisted. How about that? Freedom to build. This is impossible. The metal right here is indeed twisted in the center. And by the way, I'm not hiding any special tools. There's nothing here or nothing here. Okay, this is completely fair. With Nutanix, you have the freedom to build in private, public, or multi-cloud. Look at this. Private, public, or multi-cloud. Yeah? How about that for flexibility? With Nutanix, you have the freedom to run application and workloads as you wish. Looking at this fork, you can really see that our solutions can be shaped the way you want it. And that concludes our first demonstration. I'll be sending this to one of our panelists as a little souvenir from the webinar. Great. So let's move on to something I'm going to perform really up close, right in front of the camera, everyone, so you can see clearly here. Okay, you cannot miss anything. This is going to happen right here in front of your eyes. Watch, everyone, watch very closely. Watch the Nutanix logo in my hands. Okay, slowly. When you see this logo, the first thing, yes, the first thing that should come to your mind is that with Nutanix, we let you free yourself from legacy IT. At Nutanix, we give you the freedom to save. Interesting, isn't it? This is usually everybody's favorite trick. I don't know why, but all this really sounds like magic, doesn't it? Yeah, and it is. At Nutanix, we make IT invisible through HCI. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you now. We can anticipate what our clients need and also what they think. Let me show you what I mean. Using one of our panelists for this next virtual experiment, I'm going to ask the help of Faisal Gari here. If you don't, yes, thank you, Faisal, for switching your camera on. That's amazing. If you can unmute yourself. Okay, everyone, watch this. This is an IT demonstration, how to make IT invisible. So right here, I have something in my hand. And Faisal, how are you doing? You okay? You can unmute yourself.
I'm good, thank you.
Great. So I've got, we didn't set anything up before, by the way. Yeah? Just tell everybody this is genuine. Okay?
Exactly.
Good. I've got here what we call an invisible pack of cards. So we have invisible data here, 52 different playing cards which are invisible. I'm going to throw the cards over via the screen virtually to you. Can you grab those cards from me? Grab them from where you are. Great, thank you. Can you please, first of all, take them out of the box? That's amazing. And now spread them out in front of you. Yeah, and take one out. You can take one out and look at it. Now, Faisal, we can agree there's no way I could know the card that you're thinking of. Is there? It's impossible, right?
You cannot.
No, impossible. Now, there is a way I could know. Statistics are here to help us. Yes. And statistically, I can tell you that most men think of an ace or a king, usually a black one. All right. And ladies, just so you know, statistically, we tend to think of a queen of hearts or an ace of hearts. Now that you've got this information, I'm going to give you one chance, but one chance only to change your mind. Do you want to change your mind, Faisal?
No, no.
You're thinking of a card. There's no way I could know it. This is all virtual, but there's no way I could know this, right? We didn't communicate. Can you please just give me the cards through the screen like this, if you don't mind? Can you give them to me? Thank you. Thank you so much. So now, eventually, the cards become visible, which makes things more interesting. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense, right? So, Faisal, for the first time, I'm going to ask you to just tell everyone here on this webinar, Nutanix webinar, the card that you are thinking of. Did you change your mind or not? You kept your card, huh?
Yeah, I kept my card.
Okay, so don't change your mind now, please. But you know, when you put your card back in the pack, they were invisible, but you got a little bit confused. You put your card back inside, upside down. You put it the wrong way around.
Ah.
So now that means in here, one card is upside down. Would you be impressed if I got your card right? I mean, you know, at Nutanix, we can anticipate our clients' needs, right? And what they think. So one card upside down, which card are you thinking of for the first time? Tell everyone, please.
I think about number 7.
A 7? Is it
Yes.
a black or a red 7?
It is red.
Red. So we have two options. We can be a diamond or a heart.
Heart.
A 7 of hearts. That's very interesting, because let me show you something. I'm going to do this slowly so you can see I'm not doing any sleight of hand. All the cards in here are facing upwards, except one here in the middle, and they're all up, except one, which is facing down. Okay, would you be impressed? Let's have a look. It is impossible. You were thinking of the 7 of hearts, and it is indeed the 7 of hearts, Faisal. Incredible, right?
Wow.
Fantastic. So that concludes the end of this little entertaining introduction. I hope you all enjoy the demonstration and enjoy the rest of your webinar. Again, my name is Fred Sharp, and thank you very much, Nutanix, for inviting me. All the best.
Thank you very much, Fred. Indeed, very good way to get this Wednesday morning started there. Fred Sharp, world famous illusionist. Thank you very much, Fred. Indeed, as science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke famously wrote, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So again, thank you very much, Fred, for kicking us off. Just a quick reminder to all our viewers today, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to interact with the GITEX Technology Week team and Nutanix through the Q&A and chat functions at the bottom of your screen. So if you have questions for our speakers and panelists throughout the course of today, please feel free to get in touch using those buttons. Next up, it gives me great pleasure to welcome a regionally renowned technology expert who has been leading a range of successful brands throughout the last few years. He's currently the regional or the managing director even for the Middle East and Turkey region for Nutanix. Please welcome Aaron White. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you so much, James, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I'm very excited just to spend a few minutes to go through a few slides today around freedom and how Nutanix are helping you build your enterprise cloud the way you want to do it. And when I asked a few customers in my nowadays Zoom interactions with them, what does freedom mean to them? I get a lot of different responses. I get, it means better work-life balance for me, or it means to be able to take decisions that are not predicated on decisions of the past. Or it means flexible and efficient way for their team to operate. It may mean to some no vendor lock-in. It may mean to others freedom to choose who they build with. And in fact, one of the best ones I got was freedom for their employees to get back their weekends. So I thought that was really interesting that many people have different views on what freedom means to them. So I'm going to do a short history lesson, actually, and it's all help maybe give you some my background as well. So when I was a young guy, late 90s, I worked for a company called Sun Microsystems, and I was there for nearly 10 years. And at Sun, it was, along with other companies, all about the client server generation. And that moved from initially mainframes over to more x86 Intel platforms that you see today. And that gave rise to what we call the virtualization generation. And again, I joined that wave, moved from client server generation into a virtualization. And I worked for a small company at that time in 2007 called VMware. And I was fortunate enough to be the first person in the Middle East working for them in 2007. And that's really where we were able to drive a lot of efficiencies around utilization of capacity within your infrastructure. Now, that was the start, the foundation. Today, and over the last 3 years at Nutanix, we're really looking at the cloud generation. How can we really build intelligent software that can be deployed anywhere and managed seamlessly? And that's really what we determine as the enterprise cloud. So a little history lesson there, and we'll go through what these things mean through the rest of the presentation today. So infrastructure, process, and people, all super important. In the current environment, often we have challenges with all three of these things. Perhaps we require to spend a lot of money or upfront CapEx. Perhaps in our infrastructure today, we have multiple points of failure. And something that's happens a lot in this part of the world is we require many IT specialists just to keep the lights on. Instead, we would like to become very agile, very simple to use. Sorry, my head's in the way there. And we want it to be able to scale out in a predictable manner based upon the workloads that we want. And also, we want a different way to buy things. This consumption or subscription-based models are really the future of how people want to utilize technology. So I think cloud has really reset IT expectations. They want to really deploy very quickly. Everyone wants to deploy quickly. I want to pay as I grow. I want to be able to manage things in a one-click manner. I don't want to spend time on low-level stuff. I mean, I spent some time at a storage vendor, and I never really understood why creating a LUN was important to the business. Surely that's just something that should happen. And the other thing is we want continuous innovation. As our software updates roll out, we want to be able to take fast advantage of that latest technology. So really, what Nutanix is about freedom to build and bring in a lot of those expectations inside your private cloud, which is driven 100% software that can be deployed on any hardware. And really, when we talk about invisible, we talk about one-click simplicity, often the panacea of IT automation and management. So let's have a look at it. Most of this stuff that we do is around delivery of business applications. And also, those applications require something that we all know and never stops growing, and that's data. So from a Nutanix perspective, we offer simple and scalable enterprise-grade data management technologies. So if your data is object, if your data is files, if your data is block, we can manage that uniquely in a single interface to be able to provide that data to those mission-critical virtual workloads that probably your business depends on. Okay, be it your ERP, your CRM, your web stores, your HR systems, your communication systems, your virtual desktop systems. We're able to provide those at tremendous performance and at the best ROI. And also, with one eye on the future and a transition to cloud-native apps that are sitting inside modern containers that can be really run anywhere, be it on something like Kubernetes or Docker, we have an excellent platform to help you securely manage the deployment of those type of cloud-native apps. So really, again, to summarize that little message, we're looking at any app at any scale that's highly secure, that provides performance and resilience. Now, if you remember what I said earlier about living in the client server generation, you would often say, okay, which of these two of these three would you like? And it was very difficult to get all of those things at once. And now, 20 years later, we're able to deliver all of those things at scales unheard of, even just a few years ago. So there is a proliferation of cloud in the IT today. Everyone is saying cloud, 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 cloud. And actually, what does that mean? So we've got our hyperscalers, AWS, GCP, Azure, wonderful. We have applications that will probably, I won't say ever, never, but for a long time will remain in our private cloud for many good reasons, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And we also have an emerging distributed cloud as 5G and IoT starts springing up and becoming much more utilized at the very edge of the network. We call that our distributed cloud. So we've got these multiple clouds and they all play an important role. The key for us as IT professionals is how do we manage these? I think the word I want to use is governance, okay? It's easy to spin up a cloud in Azure, right? Just break out our credit card, boom, we've got resources. That's great, but how are those resources secure? What are we running in them? How much is it costing? And ultimately, how do we retire that? Everyone is such a hurry to get to cloud, but sometimes we need to take one step backwards, evaluate our overall infrastructure, our overall strategy. And the important thing is that we are doing that to meet SLAs of the business. So it's great from a Nutanix perspective. We believe that from a private cloud perspective, Nutanix has had a long history in delivering that. We've recently extended our capabilities with recent partnerships with either AWS, Microsoft, or Microsoft Azure to be able to seamlessly manage that environment either in our own private cloud, in AWS, probably that hand there, or Microsoft Azure in a seamless manner. And also, importantly, without any licensing restrictions from Nutanix. This gives you the ability to extend your data center and cloud services in real time, giving you true visibility of the costs, and also be able to provision apps in an easy manner through a cloud marketplace. And when we look back and say, okay, that sounds great, Aaron, but sometimes I want to deploy within my data center. These are mission critical, highly secure. I've got tough lines of regulation that I can't put my data anywhere. I need to know exactly where it is. And in that case, you can work with your favorite hardware vendor, your favorite hypervisor on any of the use cases that you wish to utilize. And it's upon us from a Nutanix perspective to help you make those great decisions in terms of what's the most cost effective, what's the most performance, how do I secure this? And we have all this capability so that you're never locked into one way of doing something. And don't take my word for it. You can always have a look at what Gartner or Forrester are saying. We've had a leadership position in the Magic Quadrant for Gartner ever since they've been releasing that over the last couple of years. And very recently, Forrester in their Wave see Nutanix also as a leader in hyperconverged infrastructure, the foundation of enterprise cloud. Nutanix can do a lot more, but HCI is just a foundation of driving to your enterprise cloud. So if I say to you, okay, I've spoken a lot about we can save money in your private cloud, and here's an IDC study that demonstrates running applications on Nutanix in your private cloud. I think the key thing for me is this 9-month payback. This is really, really great. So very quickly, you're able to recoup that initial investment, having far easier to manage platform, far easier to update. You can one-click updates, one-click management, very, very straightforward to utilize. And the other thing about anything that you do in IT is what's the experience I get when I'm up and running? And we've got two things that we'd say about that. Firstly, we give you the ability to do basic administration anytime you want. No need to schedule a late night weekend to do a basic thing as an upgrade. And the other thing is around the support. So what we have here is Net Promoter Score. Okay, so would you recommend Nutanix support is the question that we ask. To get a +1 on that score, I need a 9 or a 10 out of 10. If I get 8, 7, or 6, it's neutral. Anything less than 6 is a -1. So we get an average of 90 over the last 6 years for our support of customers. And to put that in perspective against someone very famous in a different technology, Apple rate around a 70. So we were very proud of that support and that experience for our customers that sets us apart in the industry. So not only do we believe we have the very best platform to build your enterprise cloud strategy around. We also firmly believe and have proof, once you've done that, we're here to look after you. And with that, I welcome James back to the screen. James.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you for giving us a sort of a quick overview of just how Nutanix can help enterprises with their hybrid cloud strategy. We've got a few good questions from the audience, actually, Aaron. So just first of all, actually, a good way to sort of start things off. What is Nutanix's value proposition compared to its competitors? And how exactly can you deliver ROI or increased ROI compared to, again, your competition?
Yeah, thank you. Two great questions. So let me take the first one first, which is what's our unique value proposition? So uniquely, I would say there's a number of things. So first up, we're not going to lock you into a choice of technology hypervisor. Okay, so we can run, if you're utilizing Citrix and Server, our own hypervisor, VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, absolutely free to do that. Equally, if you want to run applications on other clouds, Google Cloud Platform, AWS, Azure, we're absolutely able to do that. Now, this is for us unique. From a cost savings perspective, those studies were by IDC. How do we make those cost savings? In any ROI study, there's multiple things. One is around administration time. Another one is around energy, cost, cooling, performance. The third one is around ease of use. The fourth one is around the time and the skills level that you need to run these things. And we provide a very, very easy to utilize platform that can be learned in a matter of hours. Okay, and that's feedback from the customers. Sure, we can get certified in a course and stuff. And overall, you know, we stand behind our technology with our support levels that we provide our customers around the world.
Thank you. One question we've got here from Mitch from the audience. Again, something that I'm sure will resonate with a lot of enterprise customers within the region, or enterprise and government organizations indeed. What are the risks to data sovereignty when migrating to hybrid cloud and subscription-based models and SaaS?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I'm going to try and give as best answer as I can, because it's probably a discussion that could last for some time. So from a data sovereignty perspective, if you 100% know that a certain set of data must remain within a country, you're best off keeping that in a private cloud, okay? 100%, that's the answer to that. Now, if there are services incoming that you're utilizing from a infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, then you've got to make an assessment. What data is that as a service going to utilize, and where is it going to sit? As a result, that's why you may well have applications you might want to consume as a service, but actually, because of your GDPR or your data sovereignty, you're going to have to end up running them in a private cloud. So while many people would like to think cloud first, or public cloud first, sometimes it's just not feasible to do so.
Thank you. A couple of members of the audience actually have touched on a similar issue. How easy is it to how easy is it to switch to Nutanix's cloud environment from its competitors?
Yeah, so we operate very open standards. So in terms of migration, both on and, you know, I'll admit, be very open off Nutanix, is very straightforward, and we provide tools to be able to do that. And I think the most important thing, and this is something a customer said to me, they tried out our platform, and I said to them, how quickly did you get you up and running? He said, well, I played around with it, and about 3 hours later, I was up running, and I'm really happy. I said, what happened in your previous platform? He said, well, that type of work would have taken me 5 days. I said, can I have my POC box back? And he was like, not in a hurry, sir.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much, Aaron. We're just going to, we're going to move on to our panel discussion today now. First of all, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back Mohammed Abdul Hoof, the country manager for Saudi Arabia from Nutanix. Welcome back, Mohammed.
Hi, James. Thanks.
And it gives me also great pleasure to welcome back again our volunteer from earlier today, Faisal Gowri, regionally renowned technology expert and data center expert from joining us from Saudi. Welcome back, Faisal. Thanks, Faisal. Before we get started with the panel discussion, we're just going to run a couple of poll questions, which will give our audience the chance to give their views on a couple of topics. Before we get this started though, Nutanix has recently released its Enterprise Cloud Index, the results of which have revealed that 87% of organizations believe now that hybrid cloud is the optimum operating model. Mohammed, what are your thoughts on that survey? Do you think that's, I mean, obviously that's an extremely high percentage. So that would suggest surely that organizations are now aware of the benefits of hybrid cloud in their fullest. Mohammed, I'm not sure if you...
Yes, James, sorry, it was breaking up a little bit.
No problem. I'm just asking, do you think that the 87% from the research of organizations that believe hybrid cloud is the optimum operating model, that would suggest that organizations are now fully aware of what hybrid cloud can do for them?
So, actually, yeah, now it's better. Actually, yes, hybrid cloud today is gaining a momentum because customers start to find out that at the end, everyone is pushing toward public cloud, the market's pushing toward public cloud, but there are data sovereignty and data gravity that pushes back to private cloud. So most of our customers will end up in this hybrid model, and everyone is realizing this, especially in Saudi nowadays. Customers are getting this strategy in place, and they want to build their platform based on this strategy. They want, most of our customers here are looking for some of the workloads to run off-premise and some of the workload run on-premise. Their main issue and their main challenge was, how can I manage this and how I can maintain this operation, separate operations, maintain the movement of this workload whenever it makes sense to be here or to make sense to be there. So this is the situation now, and this is where Nutanix really can play a major role for our customers.
Excellent, thanks very much, Mohammed. So we're just going to quickly ask our audience's opinions on a couple of questions. So we have a couple of polls that I think we're just going to bring up fairly shortly. Faisal, do you have any, before we receive that poll question, do you believe, again, in terms of the research that Nutanix has released, do you think that is a fair reflection, 87%? I mean, from your personal experience, I mean, what are your thoughts on the benefits of hybrid cloud, loosely speaking?
James, I believe this is for me.
Yes, Faisal.
Yeah, I agree with the research paper issued by the Nutanix. The 80% hypercloud convergence is the true picture of the, especially the Saudi market, as Mohammed rightly mentioned.
Okay, good. So we have our first poll question for today. What are the most important aspects of a hybrid cloud strategy to you, the audience? Managing specific application use cases and suitability, managing costs better with pay-as-you-go, or avoiding vendor lock-in? Aaron, what do you expect to be the most popular answer there among our audience?
You know what, I was trying to answer myself and it said the panelists weren't allowed to answer. So I'm hoping it would say vendor lock-in, but I wouldn't want to second guess anyone.
Why do you think the organization should be concerned with vendor lock-in? Do you think that's something that needs to be they need to be mindful of?
You know, in my 15 years in the Middle East, I've seen it numerous times, both where I've been the vendor providing vendor lock-in and when I've been trying to get customers to understand why they might want to change. And in the end, it's been a tremendous amount of effort to move, and the customers have felt kind of handcuffed to a technology that they decided about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, now want to do something else, but finding a lot of gravity preventing them doing it. Maybe Faisal, you were nodding your head. I think you probably want to say something about that, right?
I agree with you. It used to be a big challenge in the past.
I mean, Faisal, maybe you could give a bit of insight on your personal experiences with vendor lock-in. Has that been an issue you've sort of previously encountered? Has it been one of your biggest pain points?
The biggest pain point with vendor locking is, as rightly mentioned by Aaron, you are handcuffed. You feel handcuffed, and you find no way to go out of the specific vendor where you invested millions of dollars. with the technology which is not working or helping the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got the results of our poll. 38% of our audience, again, agree that avoiding vendor lock-in is the most important aspect of a hybrid cloud strategy. But not far behind, with 34%, we have managing costs better with a pay-as-you-go model. So yeah, perhaps as expected there. I believe we also have a second poll question coming up shortly, which should give us further topic of discussion. Mohammed, again, what are your thoughts on those results? Do they come up as any sort of surprise?
So I see this, I can't answer it myself. What are the key challenges with the hybrid cloud strategy? Compliance and security, complex cost management, lack of single operational management tool. I do believe that lack of single operational management tool is the most important aspect to build the strategy, because at the end, customers need to be able to manage, and when they have easy management tool across all of these workload, across all of these cloud options, they'll be able to move freely, and they'll be able to get the best outcome out of every cloud vendor.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. It seems, based on our audience vote, 42% agree with you. A lack of a single 42% believe the lack of a single operational management tool is the biggest challenge associated with hybrid cloud. Not far behind, again, 36% believe compliance and security is the biggest challenge. We're going to deep dive now into some more detailed questions regarding the topic at hand. So Faisal, just keen to get your thoughts, really. Obviously, we're actually yet to discuss the sort of elephant in the room, I suppose, with enterprise technology in 2020, which is, of course, the pandemic. How do you believe the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the move to cloud, broadly speaking? Has it added momentum to the shift to cloud, or has it caused doubt? And will it, in fact, stall the move to cloud, broadly speaking, again?
I would go for the last portion of the question. I believe it caused the doubt around associated cost and operational disruption. If we see the recent Gartner report, which was issued in May 2020, 8% worldwide IT spending reduced, which means around $300 billion IT spending has been reduced for this year. Having this fact in mind, and going back to your question, I would say COVID-19 disrupted the technology operationals globally. Companies that was running private clouds had a hard time having operations handled effectively. The way every organization uses technology is unique. So we cannot say that reducing IT spending will fit for all kind of organization. So it vary organization by organization based on organization goals and objective. However, in my opinion, one of the use case for cloud, which in my opinion, pay as you go, subscription-based licensing is best fit during this situation, especially for disaster recovery sites where you have mandated in Saudi Arabia, especially financial institutes where the disaster recovery challenges. So this is the only use case I believe currently in this situation can gain the momentum.
So you, just to sort of expand slightly on your point there about the $300 billion dip in global IT spending, do you think that's partly due to funds being allocated elsewhere in terms of enterprise IT strategy?
I believe this is due to the losses gained by the situation in pandemic situation and funds being allocated or prioritized in different allocation.
Okay, Aaron, I'd be keen to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, I suspect you may disagree slightly with what Faisal has said. I mean, do you think that the pandemic has stalled the move to cloud, or do you think it's likely to have had the opposite effect? And just expanding on that slightly as well, do you think, will it be possible for companies to even compete in the coming years with their competitors if they haven't made that transition to cloud?
Okay, yeah. So let me break that down into two things. So, with the onset of the pandemic in February of this year, broadly across the region, we saw a very dramatic shift in IT priorities. So that shift was driven by the need to work from home. So there was a massive uptick in VDI solutions, be it desktop as a service or delivered through your private cloud. And that was driven out of pure need to keep businesses running. Now, as we look over the course of the next 6 months, where we are today, there's been another shift, all right? And that shift is a massive need to save money. And how do we do things more efficiently? Because in the end, any IT project that you're going to do boils down to one of three things. Either we're saving money, we're making money, or we're reducing our risk. And if you can have an IT project that does all three of those, then you're well ahead of the game. But right now, we saw a shift to almost a disaster recovery app, which was virtual desktop, now into, okay, I'm trying to stay above water. How do I save money? How do we become more efficient? And in respect to your last part of your question around, can companies remain competitive without the shift? Again, it all comes down to that cash flow, right? So if you're able to avoid large upfront multi-year capex and move to a more flexible subscription pay as you grow, or a different way in terms of maybe I need buy just enough to keep me going now, again, that's going to be way more efficient for you.
I'm going to have to press you slightly there, though, Aaron. I mean, I take your points on board, but nonetheless, would it be fair to say that if resources are being reallocated slightly as a result of the pandemic, will it still be the case that move to cloud or getting the right type of cloud environment, will it be an organization's first choice if they have to be ruthless in terms of budgeting?
Well, the studies show that in the long term, cloud is a more expensive operating model, okay, because in the end you're renting, and rent is always more expensive than owning. So there will need to be a hard decision to say, what is the pressing need vis-a-vis where we're going to be 12, 18, 24 months down the line. So it will vary between organizations, and we've seen both approaches in the market.
Great, thank you very much. Mohammed, I'm keen to get your thoughts actually in terms of the biggest reasons why organizations will want to move their data and applications back and forth between environments. What is the need of the hour in that respect?
Good question, actually, James. Thinking of the workload, it depends on the workload actually and the customer requirements. Some of the workloads has got the concept of the data gravity. Some of the workloads needs the application or the service needs to be closer to the data. Aside of the government compliance and mandates on certain workloads to be in the country, some of the workloads need to be closer to their data and to their customers due to latency issues and all of that. Now, having that said, customer has to have this freedom to move the workloads here or there, and has to have the ability to measure these type of workload cost. And considering example, running one of the workload on one of the cloud providers, as Aaron stated, actually, it's a rent at the end, and how much it will cost him for long term. Now, thinking of any kind of predictable type of workloads, it costs you much more over the long term and over the long run on cloud compared versus to having it on premise. Now, with Nutanix here, and the great thing about Nutanix, it doesn't just give you this ability to move freely between on-premises and off-premises, but it gives you the tools to measure the cost associated with every single workload on these public clouds, and gives you the visual idea actually on how much it will cost me to keep it running for 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, considering the resources, amount of resources that I have today, and whether it makes sense or not to pull it back in on premises, or I keep it off premises. So it's not just the ability to have it, but the more tools to measure what's the best interest for the business. This is really important.
Great, thank you very much, Mohammed. Moving on slightly, I mean, obviously we've talked broadly speaking about the benefits and exactly what organizations can get once they've made that move or successfully selected their hybrid cloud strategy. But Faisal, I'm keen to ask just what you think in terms of what organizations need to do in terms of having the right skill sets in place, the right processes, What do organizations need to do to make sure they're ready for these kind of shifts?
Thank you. I remember during my past experience, recent past experience working with different cloud implementation or virtual workload implementation. We used to have a skill set for storage. We used to have a skill set for compute, networking, etc., etc. I have noticed nowadays the new role and skill set is emerging in cloud called cloud specialist, which is trying to remove organizational silos. If you have cloud specialists, means generalists to manage all domains. This is going to help many of the processes within the small and medium enterprises, which personally I have faced in the past as well. Because nowadays infrastructure stack simplified and eliminating the complexity. So one man, one skill set, having generic skill of having the storage, compute, network, can run the cloud and can bypass most of the processes which is hurdling the implementation of the cloud. So this is the freedom we as end user are looking for. This is the freedom organizations are looking for, or where they invested on skill sets and human resources.
But do you think it? I mean, is it even finding that talent who can manage all of that in one? I suppose. Is that real? Is that easily achievable at the moment in the Middle East specifically? Is there a lack of skills in that respect in terms of managing those clouds?
This is what that's what I stated, that this skill set is emerging at the moment. That's mean certification is there. People are getting certified, having multiple skill set as a one person, as a one resource. So this role is emerging, expertise are emerging, education is there, training is there, and it's no more having a difficulty to find a right resource for your cloud in Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia, I would speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Mohammed, what are your thoughts again in terms of that challenge of finding the right skills? I mean, based on your experience of speaking to customers, do you feel that they feel equipped, they feel they have the adequate resources to make these transitions?
See, skill sets, I tend to agree with Faisal here. Skill set can be a bit tricky here, because skill sets can either encourage you to make a move or prevent you from making a move. So many of our customers sometimes trying to build their strategy, a long-term strategy based on the current skill set that their team have today, which is something dynamically changing. And today's skill set is totally different than tomorrow's skill set. And employees at the end keep moving. And it doesn't mean that whatever you have today is going to you have tomorrow. So what's happening here in Nutanix, what we believe in is giving you the ability to make your choice independently from the skill set, simply by simplifying the complexity that we have in the IT, whether in on-premises or off-premises, on any cloud, having Nutanix as a middleware across all the cloud providers and data centers, even on your premises, DR, all of this, that eliminates the skill sets limitations here to make any decision for currently and for future. Because that Nutanix built that solution and put that platform empowered by machine learning and artificial intelligence that minimize all the skill sets that really require to manage all of this. If you want to move totally to the cloud, yes, you need a very heavy skill sets that's developing nowadays in the market. If you want to keep everything on premises with the old traditional structure and architecture that we have today, you need to maintain very heavy skill sets as well. So this strategy Nutanix is offering here is independent from the skill set, allow the customers to move freely.
Thank you very much. Aaron, do you think that vendors have that certain responsibility to provide that extra level of support and, I suppose, for want of a better word, hand-holding to certain organizations that don't have the in-house resources to make these changes?
Yeah, thanks for the question, James. This is part of the approach that we have. when we really understand where customers are trying to get to. So if a customer has a very specific vision about what they're trying to achieve in their business, we will work with them to ensure that they have the skill set, and where they don't, or that they feel there's a gap, Nutanix is able to step in and provide support around those gaps. Now that can be with our own professional services team, the use of highly skilled partner network that we have throughout the region, or a combination of both of those things. But certainly what we want is successful business outcomes. And the only way we can ensure that is that we work in a collaborative manner to get to those outcomes together.
Absolutely, thank you very much. I mean, also just to sort of touch on an issue that loosely relates to that. I mean, what would your advice be to organisations who are naturally concerned about the operational disruption of moving to cloud environments, and again moving back and forth between clouds?
Yeah, again, a great question. It's often fear of the unknown, right? So I think, like anything, the best way is to try it, and we can provide a very safe, and in fact we call it a test drive of the environment that you would have once you've made that migration, to give you the look and feel, and is it worth it to make all that time, money, expense to get to that panacea? And we're able to set it up very quickly, and we have those available online today. In terms of tooling, again, we can give you some hands-on experience around that. And the best thing about this is that it can happen in a very, very fast manner. To give you an example, there's a very large bank here in the UAE where I'm currently sat, who were able to stand up several thousand employees on a VDI environment, and from delivery of the equipment to that environment being live all happened within less than 3 weeks, which typically wouldn't be possible with alternative solutions.
Okay, great. Mohammed, what are your thoughts again? I mean, based on your conversations with customers, what have you heard in terms of those concerns around operational disruption, and what would your advice be?
See, customers are a bit. I do feel with our customers actually, because today they have to make their choices that they will stick with for the coming 10 years or 15 years. So if they decide to move to cloud today, how is it going to look like tomorrow? See, I remember, just like if you think of an oil industry doesn't change rapidly, and fracking technology, that's the key word today and the buzzword today in the oil industry, has been invented in 1965 actually. So in IT it's not the case actually. It's in IT, whatever you have tomorrow, you don't have tomorrow. Today, you don't have tomorrow. Everything is changing on a daily basis. So I feel with our customers, when they try to make choices today that last for long, my advice to the customers always that don't try to be as wise as possible thinking about the future only. You need to build your strategy that allows you, a proper strategy and the right strategy allows you to move freely in the future. And I stress on the word freely, because tomorrow, if you decide to go with that public cloud, are you sure it's going to last? This is first question. Are you sure it's going to give you the same cost offering today that you had today? Are you sure you're going to have the same security aspects, measures, and everything today? You need to be able to move freely from one cloud vendor to another cloud vendor. That is, if you need to make a choice now, make that choice, and you will make your life much easier for the future. So whenever you have to make a choice of moving from one provider to another provider, you do have this choice. Unfortunately, with customers don't have this choice, it will cost them a lot, and they will not be able to leave easily, and they will live with the consequences of their choice in yesterday's choice.
Just on that note, I'm keen to hear your thoughts, Faisal. I mean, from your personal experience, of course, the theme of today's discussion is freedom in terms of cloud choice. How important is that freedom, and how have you sort of benefited from having the flexibility to move your data across cloud environments? How important is that flexibility?
Definitely, this is the main driver of the cloud strategy for any organization. As we discussed earlier, the vendor lock-in situation. If we have a freedom as an end user, where I can move from one to another vendor, where I have a freedom to move from one provider to another provider. I heard a lot from Mohammed and Aaron that they have such flexibility. This is a very win-win situation for the future of cloud technology in the globally, where I will have a freedom to choose one vendor, and if I have some issues and tools available, I can move to another vendor. So this will totally change the strategy of multiple organizations.
Absolutely. So we're having quite a lot of questions from our audience via the Q&A section here. Good question here we've received. Not sure if you want to take this one, Aaron. What are the main risks or biggest potential pitfalls of getting a hybrid strategy wrong and not having the right skills in place? What should organizations do in terms of having a backup plan to make sure they're ready for that scenario?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? So first up is which applications where, okay? So I think I was talking to a CIO at a bank here, and he said, why would I put my Microsoft applications in AWS? Okay. And then in the same breath, he said, why would I put my Linux applications in Microsoft Azure? And then he said to me, why would I move my treasury application out of my data center? Okay, so it's not one size fits all. We have to get into the next level of detail about what goes where and why. I've noticed that there's been a number of questions again around security. Okay, I just want to take maybe 1 minute just to segue into that. Okay,
sure.
I think it's important that from a networking perspective, microsegmentation is something that we provide with our technologies, and that goes across the clouds to help secure that way. We also have a number of security kit within Nutanix, and many of the top level security clearance certificates that we operate our environments across government organizations around the world. So I just want to say that first again, just to relay, because I know there's a big issue, and quite rightly so, for customers in this part of the world. So that's why I'd really say to that, James, it does require planning. You do need to understand what you're putting where. Here's a great example. Okay, so I've got young kids. They want a PlayStation 5, and if you looked at the press around PlayStation 5 pre-orders, many websites came crashing down. Why was that? Answer: bad planning. The cloud would have been the perfect place to put your scalable pre-order web store, allowing the rest of your business, the rest of those websites to run uninterrupted. Instead, you saw websites, boom, go offline. Yeah. The face of your company in the digital age. Poor planning. Okay, so I'll leave it at that.
Can't disagree there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it certainly would have made life a lot easier for them. Mohammed, just keen to kind of get your thoughts on something a couple of things that Aaron has touched on there. Obviously, of course, he's mentioned, very key theme, one size does not fit all. That mentality is not going to work. But perhaps one of the biggest issues really that we've briefly touched on here and there today is that of security and protecting that data once it's in the cloud. Good question we've had here from the audience is, with open standards, with open standards leading instead of proprietary systems, will that open up more vulnerabilities with more suppliers of components and technology?
Good question, actually. See, open standards have had, I remember from our old days in some microsystems with the open source concept, it was dominating for a while, and everyone was really interested and excited about the open source. Now, the open standard, in my view and the customer's view that I talk to them, open standards is not going to give them the best secure aspects that their customers looking for. Proprietary is a bouncy word, and it depends on how much proprietary we're talking about. So if we talk about some of the vendors, I will not name, offering a full stack from software to hardware, that will increase the proprietary offering to our customers. If we're talking about a small layer of proprietary with the proper API integration with every vendor in the market, that integration will assure our customers to have the best outcome from all the vendors, because it's not dependent on one solution in terms of security. So let's think of it this way. I don't have as a customer to end up with certain security vendor because of lack of integration. I have the choice. And again, that gets you back, it gets you back to the freedom and choice. Where can I change my security strategy, and how is your platform open to integrate with all security vendors and security solutions in the market? This is a key word, openness, which is something that we strictly stressed multiple times. How open is our platform, and the freedom of choice here. Can I integrate with whoever I want or not? So this is what Nutanix offers today. In terms of security, Nutanix solution is fully certified by all security certifications that's there in the market. We do have the layer of the micro-segmentation to give visibility, network visibility and control. And on top of that, it integrates with all security solutions down in the market. So we give the customer the option to build his own security strategy. We never lock him in or lock him down for a certain direction when it comes to security.
Thank you very much. Faisal, do you have anything to add in terms of concern?
Hello, James.
I think James is coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah, you're
sorry,
back.
guys, I'm not sure what happened. I think my connection just briefly dropped off. I'm back. Faisal, so just as I was asking, I mean, and do you have any thoughts on maybe perhaps at board level, do you think enterprises have concerns about the sort of associated pitfalls of openness? Is it something to be encouraged? Is it something to be feared? From your personal experience, what do you think? How do you think this kind of challenge needs to be balanced both by vendors and by customers?
In my personal opinion, or in my personal experience, I would say we have both sides of pros and cons in openness. So for example, as rightly mentioned by Mohammed, from security point of view, if I am information security, I would look for the options for the integration. Is the solution best fit with the integration of my security solutions or not? So this is one side of the other side of the organizations are looking for, as the question appears from the audience, is open source is secured or more vulnerable? So it's two different mindset, but from typical organization information security perspective, I would go for integration, have more advantages, more luxury, more secure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We're running out of time. We're coming towards the end of today's session, but perhaps a good way to sort of round off the final few minutes would be if we could start off with our, sorry, apologies. Perhaps Aaron, if you could take this question in terms of what do you think, well, what would your biggest piece of advice be for customers in terms of who are looking to move to hybrid cloud or who are looking to move to cloud in general?
Yeah, thanks. So if I'm going to say my biggest piece of advice, plan what you want to achieve, right? Work out how you're going to save money, make money, or reduce risk, or all three. Come and talk to us on Nutanix. We've done this many times here in the region. We really have a lot of expertise, a large team to help and support you with world-class support. So please don't be afraid to engage. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Mohammed, do you anything to add in terms of your biggest pieces of advice?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice actually is customers don't have to worry much about tomorrow if you plan it properly from now. Build the strategy based on open approach and freedom of choice, and you don't have to worry about tomorrow. You don't have, even if you do mistake, by moving to this cloud provider, or you do this, you do that, you still can change. As long as you can change, that's fine. As long as you can move away from your mistakes, that's fine. Don't do the ultimate mistake of locking yourself in with any solution for tomorrow. This is your choice today. You don't have to choose wisely, by the way. Just choose one thing. Don't be locked in. So even if you do a mistake, you can change it.
Thank you very much. Faisal, it looks like you get the last word in this discussion. From your personal experience, I mean, just again, if you had to give advice to technology end users, so you're speaking from the other side of the fence here, what would be your sort of biggest lessons learned from working with hybrid cloud, and what would your advice be to other end users who are having difficulties or indeed seeing a lot of opportunities with hybrid cloud?
As the theme of this webinar, go with freedom. Go with the choice, number one. Number two, this is the first time I attended with Nutanix, but I would like to say they have their fingers on the pulse of the market. So they understand what is going on. They understand the technology, and they are fully aware about the market issues. So this, which is giving me a positive sign about the future of Nutanix and about the future of, I worked with Nutanix 5 or 6 years back, where Nutanix was very new in this region. From that till now, I can see a big progress from that time up to now. From end user perspective, I would suggest, as Mohammed rightly mentioned, go with freedom. Don't go lock with yourself with any specific vendor.
Great, thank you very much. On that note, I'd like to wish a very big thank you to you, Aaron, Faisal, and Mohammed. Thank you all very much for making this webinar today what it is, and indeed to Fred, who's no longer with us on this discussion, but thank you very much, Fred. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you here today, and it's been a pleasure having this webinar hosted by Nutanix. We look forward to seeing you at GITEX Technology Week from the 6th to the 10th of December at Dubai World Trade Center. Thank you all. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.